Hello, welcome to another Tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is called Blue Nocturne. It is a 3.5 by 3.5 little mini painting, and I did this painting a couple months back, and I quite like it. It's one of my well, I already said it's a mini painting. It's one of my little mini paintings. I love doing these. They don't take me a real long time, but they're cool, and I sell quite a few of them. Good for tourists because tourists always have limited space, and they're also kind of designed for people that want to collect some of my work, but you know, don't have a lot of money. And frankly, this would be the thing I'd go for over a print, because I'd rather have a small original than a reproduction any day. That said, my reproductions are really cool. At some point, I probably ought to get them on the website, and at some point, I actually ought to update the website with something other than a new blog post. Sorry for that, but so many things coming and going and dividing my attention that I tend to really focus on the priorities, and you guys are a priority. Doing these videos is a priority, and that's why I am here after work today, my day in the studio, doing this. Normally I like to do it at lunchtime or so, but a couple students today, and so really busy. A little bit about this painting. It's like in the blue range, no duh, and you might have noticed that I started on a gray ground, and I quickly rubbed it down with a little bit of blue tint just to kind of set it off in that direction. I do like to do, I don't normally do blue over, well, I can tell you blue over the old burnt sienna background color didn't work at all, but blue over the burnt umber works okay. It works fine, actually. Not as good as this gray, though. Gray really gives a better result because it's just more neutral and it's cooler. Yeah. So when I do these kinds of things, it's basically kind of just keying all off of one color. I might veer a little into purples, which I don't believe I did on this one, or I might veer into greens, which I think I did a bit more on this one. So I'm not looking at the finished painting right now as I'm talking to you. There is a topic, though, I would like to discuss today. Let me pull that over on my desktop so I have it. Yeah. A little bit of green. Going purples into slight greens down on the ground. Yeah. Very, very happy with this painting, actually. It's little, I don't expect, it's still in my studio. It's still for sale, but I don't expect it to be around for long. Generally, when I do these kinds of things, they go pretty quick. Wow, I'm getting in. So there are some purples. They look, they're subdued though, and they're up in the sky. So I did open up the range on the color wheel a little bit. But I have a topic in mind to discuss today, and that is the topic of perfectionism. And I am a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist, and I like to call myself a functional perfectionist because I know how to get work done, and I know how to work with my perfectionism in a positive way instead of a negative way. Now, perfectionism in a negative way usually equates to procrastination, and those two together are deadly because they equate to getting absolutely nothing done. And I've seen some brilliant people with a lot of potential basically just do nothing because of their perfectionism that morphed into procrastination, which just morphed into them saying, well, I'm not going to do anything. And it's a real shame because they, in some cases, were very bright or very talented and could have got a lot of things done that would have been, valuable to them and other people and improved their life. But they became sort of immobilized by it. And I have several strategies for dealing with perfectionism. The number one ties into what we were talking about last week with productivity. That is, do a lot of work. Instead of sitting there thinking about the thing you want to do, just do it. And instead of thinking about it some more afterwards, do something else, do another thing. Just spend your time doing and not thinking. And because when you're doing, you know you're going to make those compromises that need to be made in the moment. And the perfectionism is going to move into the background. Whereas if you're indulging the thinking, the overthinking, and the dynamics and inner dialogue that all go with any activity that we want to accomplish, if you indulge those things too far, you become immobilized, and procrastination is the inevitable result. And procrastination is something you want to avoid. Now, the best way to avoid procrastinating is just by doing it. At the end of the day, you'll have to do it, and you have to live with it. And speaking as a functional perfectionist, I can tell you that I've never done a perfect painting. It hasn't happened yet. I don't expect it to ever happen. I'm not even hung up on that because I do so much work that I just see it as a process. And when you see your work as a process instead of individual isolated islands of activity, that's a lot. There's a lot of strength that comes from that. There's a lot of stability and security that comes from that, because you know you can just fall back on the process, and you know that even if what you did today falls far short of your vision, that you're going to be back up on the saddle going after something else the next day. And by that, I just want to, that's the other thing I want to say, don't spend all your time working on one painting or one thing. This is, hold on, you're going to hear pop. I'm worried the volume might be a little high. Don't spend all your time working on one painting trying to make it perfect. Do in that time span, do 3, 4, 5 paintings that are all, they're all going to be less than perfect, but at least some of those will be better than others. And the ones that are not so great, as I've said a bunch of times in this channel, you can destroy them. By that I mean take them out, put them on the curb, and stomp on them. I don't recommend throwing them in the dumpster though, because you're going to find that one day your painting is decorating somebody's house, and you don't want that. You don't want your bad work out there speaking for you, because when you're not around, the only thing here to speak for you will be your work. And of course, maybe if there's any other kind of actual civilization in the future, there might be these videos or things like that, recordings of you talking about your work or what have you. But really, it's going to be your work, and you don't need really, really bad, inferior work. So another strategy is just realize that a certain percentage of whatever you do is going to suck. It's going to be bad, and get on with it. Just set out every time you paint to do a great job, to do the best job you can, and if things don't work out, let it dry, maybe take another crack at it. And if it still doesn't work out, either destroy it, or what I really like to do is I will sand it down, and then I will coat it with a nice thick coat of burnt umber. and I'll do another painting right over the top. And what really feels great is when you sell one of those, where you know there's a failed painting underneath, you know, and now it's gone. Now it's sold. You know, it's not in your life anymore. Don't keep these bad paintings around to remind you. That's not supporting yourself as an artist. Keep them around until the point where it's obvious that you're not going to be able to improve it. At that point in time, destroy it or paint over the top of it to do another painting. I have like several boards in my studio that have been sitting there for months that have just old paintings I covered, and they're a little larger sizes, and I haven't felt like really doing anything large for a while. So they're still there, but I'll grab them. I'm going to do them, you know. I'm going to do something over them, and I've got the boards. It's no waste, and that's a really great feeling. And that said, there are times when I get quite upset and I just want to destroy it, and that's okay too. Stomp on it. Who's this guy that does the Dinotopia? I forget his name, but I followed his blog way back in the day, and he and his father devised a system where they had the artwork on a little thing that was clasping it, and on the other side they had a flamethrower, and they would just burn these things, ignite them, and he was one of the first guys to really put me up. Gurney is his name, James Gurney, I believe. Brilliant artist, great for that illustrative kind of thing. He was one of the first guys that really put me into the truth of this. And another thing which did, of course, is having a career as a commercial illustrator. It's just a matter of fact that for any number of reasons, sometimes you're going to have to produce work that is below your usual standard, and it's always surprising when this work sells, and I mean not just sells, the buyer picks it up, and then the people in the marketplace like it. So that maybe leads to my fourth or fifth point, which is you're not always the best judge of what's good about your work. There may be it's like what's important to you may not be the thing that is successful in your work. I've seen that happen. I know that's been the case with some of my stuff. That said, I really don't spend a lot of time worrying about that, because I'm the guy I've got to please. I'm the one doing the work. And when I was talking about the editor, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago, versus the cheerleader, it's my editor that's deciding whether this is good or bad. So I don't spend a lot of time worrying about that. But I will say, if I've seen the marketplace respond to something in my work that I didn't think was especially good or especially pertinent, I do pay attention to that, and I will respond. I may do more work in that vein. It's an interesting process. So that's a few strategies for dealing with perfectionism with those of you that have that as an issue, and I think a lot of people that are artistically inclined do have that as an issue. So I just wanted to share that today, and hopefully help some of you out. Maybe the last thing I can get in there is, if you have somebody in your life that is good with art and stuff and will give you an honest opinion, you can always run things by them. If you're lucky enough to have that in your life, take full advantage of it. Just say, hey, what do you think of this? Do you think this is okay? I think I kind of hate it, And they might say, no, it's fine, it's great, what are you talking about? And then you go, okay, I've got this verification outside of myself that it's not so bad, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to finish it and put it in the gallery or something and sell it. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Appreciate all your new subscribers coming on board. Welcome aboard. There's a lot of great playlists in the playlist area, and don't hesitate to dig deep down in the bowels of the 470 videos I put up. I'll be back real soon with another video. Meanwhile, please take good care and stay out of trouble.